Welcome to the Dr. Lori Marbus podcast. And today I'm so excited to be the most amazing guest to see me today. I have a special place in my heart for Miss Rewa Chisholm. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, and I can't wait to share this story because it's really a personal story between you and me, and how we met and what happened when you decided that you would try things that you never did before, and what happened with blood pressure and all these amazing things. But you have a really cool journey because you're just so delightful and energetic. So let's start back from the beginning. You want to tell people how we met?
Yes, absolutely. So in May, I was about 4 blood pressure pills left, and I go to my doctor that I've been with for about 17 years, and I get to the counter and I say, "Hey, I need to make an appointment. I only have 4 pills left." And they say, "Oh, you got new insurance. We don't take that insurance anymore." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I can't find a doctor that fast that's going to be able to give me my meds." So I remember that we have a doctor on demand app with my new job and my new insurance. So I get home and I log in and I'm like, "Oh, let's see if this works." And sure enough, Dr. Myris appears on my FaceTime screen, and I'm like, "Who sees a doctor on FaceTime?" And so I do, apparently, because that's exactly what happened. And so as I was sharing what I was actually needing, new blood pressure medicine, I said, "Well, I really would like to get off of it. I've been on it for over 20 years. And so if there's any way, I've lost some weight, I've changed my eating, is there any way that I can get off?" And so here we are.
So I think that's the important note to remember too. You had been on blood pressure pills up to 3 in the beginning, right?
Yes.
For
Yes.
for 20 years.
Yes. A little over 20 years, actually. Yeah.
So back on May 2nd of 2018, this year, you were on 2 pills when I saw you because you had run out, you said, of the others and just didn't bother to take them or fill them back up.
Because I was like, I had to go to the doctor, so I wouldn't get another prescription. So I was like, "Oh, I'll just take the 2 that I have," because the other one was really small. It was only 5 milligrams. And so I said, "Well, you know what? I'll just take those 2." I showed up in FaceTime land and said, "Hey, I need these 2 pills refilled." And you suggested something for me to try to see if it would work to get me off the pills. And that was being plant-based, no meat, no dairy. My response was, "But dairy is the key to life."
Do you recall what you were thinking when this crazy doctor's like, "You're going to try eating plants"? What was the original thoughts?
The original thought was, my husband and I had just had a conversation the day before about me not eating meat. And because he doesn't eat beef or pork. And he was like, "You shouldn't even be eating meat anyway. You're learning all this stuff in the Bible, and it says that we shouldn't eat meat." And I was like, "What? I didn't know that." And so then the next day I talked to you and I said, "My husband just mentioned about not eating meat." And you said to me, "Well, God allowed him to plant the seed, and then he allowed you to give me the information."
Right. That's so cool. And you have multiple interesting intersections during because your journey was a little rough patch here and there.
Yeah, I had a little meat mirage. I had a meat sweat.
Oh, we're gonna go through that. This is some good stuff. So the fun part is that you were so animated when you expressed your symptoms, like when you would call back in and share what you were going through. I was like, this is so funny. Like you're just cracking me up because you're just like you don't understand.
I'm like, I had a dream that I was eating meat. Like, I cooked beans and I looked down in my bowl and I was like, "Oh, there's a piece of chicken in there." And my husband was like, "You didn't put chicken in there. There's no chicken in there." I'm like, "It's a meat mirage."
Okay. I've never had a patient in 7 years tell me they had meat mirages.
I
I'm
have
sorry. We're going to be a lot of giggles in this because this is pretty much all our appointments are. We speak a few words and then we giggle it's hilarious when we're talking.
I know.
But let's go back to the beginning because I think it's important people understand. Can you tell us a little bit about how you were feeling? So you're on these 2 medications and your weight was...
And it's still, I started at 180 when I met, actually our initial appointment, and I lost 10 pounds because I was at 190 originally, and I changed my eating habits, started I actually did a health shake one time. I did just small meals and snacks in between, and just making better choices and not frying anymore, doing more baking and roasting. So I changed those things automatically, and I was doing portion control. So that helped me lose the 10 pounds. So when I got to you and I was like, okay, let's see what else I can do. And you suggested that. And so you didn't know this about me, but I am a researcher by nature. I have my PhD in curriculum and instruction. And so I did a bunch of research after you gave me all these websites. And I literally went on all of them. I read everything I could about being plant-based. And I actually started keeping a journal. Mm-hmm. And so it just happens to be called Prayer Changes Things. And so I put plant-based, blood pressure lowered, no medication, no meat, no dairy. That was the first thing I wrote on there. And I said, okay, this is what Dr. Barbara said I needed to do. I'm not really feeling this whole experience. I'm not sure I can give up meat. I am a carnivore by nature, and I love meat, and I don't know if I can do it. And I kept thinking the only way I can do this is with God's help. And so that's when I started this journal. And I actually started thinking about the lifestyle change, and I started journaling that night saying, you know, if I'm going to do this, God, you have to help me, because I can't do this on my own. I love bacon. Everything tastes better with butter. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to change my life and really get healthy and not have to be on these meds? Because I was sluggish. I always felt full. I just felt uncomfortable. Couldn't get up the stairs, like no energy. And even with the changes that I had made, I was still not feeling 100%, which is what I was trying to get to. So just really the whole process started. I talked to my husband, then I talked to you, did some research, got to church. I see a gentleman and he says, hey, and I look at him, I'm like, oh my gosh, Jesus, look at what are you doing? Like, you're invisible, like your body is going down. And he says, oh, my blood pressure was really high and the doctor put me on a plant-based. And I was like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to talk to you. Okay, great. I leave there. I go into another session. I'm talking to someone at church and they're telling me about their blood pressure and how they had to change their eating. And I'm like, okay, God, I get it. I hear what you're saying. I need to get it together. So I go into the actual service, and the scripture that they read says, if when you know better, you have to do better. And I was like, okay, I just did all this research. Okay, God, I get it. I need to get my life together. So I go home and I actually have the receipts. I go to my local grocery store where I had just purchased all of my dairy products, my milk and my cheese and my, you name it. I had it at my yogurt and everything, because those were my snacks that I was having, the healthy snacks. And so I take it all and I put it in a bag and I go back to the store and I say, so apparently I have a sensitivity to dairy now, and I would like to return all these things. And she was like, oh, a lot of people have it. Don't worry about it. She gives me all of it, my money back. I go to the grocery. I go into the aisles because I'm not supposed to walk down the middle. I'm on the perimeter, and I get lots of fruits and lots of veggies, and that's how it started. I actually came home and I went on the internet and I wrote down every single vegetable and fruit that the internet had, right? And then I highlighted the ones that I ate. So literally 6 things were highlighted on my list.
On the first day?
On the first day.
Okay, now we need to say that again. So you literally liked 6 vegetables.
6 vegetables. Mm-hmm. 6.
You told me... You said, don't call me vegan.
Still don't call me vegan. My mom saw a lady in the store the other day with a vegan shirt. She took a picture and I was like, that's why I'm not vegan. I'm not concerned about any of those things on that list. I just need my blood pressure to be down. No offense to the animals. I get it. I know it's not, but death is death. Killing them inhumane or humane, they're still dead. Like, no. So.
Sure. But I will warn you, as time goes on, and you start learning about things, the animal component and the environmental component becomes just as important as some of the other health. That does happen to many people. I'm just letting you, we had some major humps to get over just with the fact that you're going to eat vegetables. We'll move into the whole other stuff later. But I will tell you, my own journey has brought me to that point, which is fascinating because I didn't ever think about that either, but it'll happen.
Okay. All right. I'll be ready. Anything's possible. I'm eating spinach in my smoothie. Anything is possible.
Absolutely. That's true. You're eating spinach. I don't think people truly understand how did I say this? Animated you were about the truth. Like, you really want me to eat more vegetables. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is really good. This is a good testimony of when you actually, try foods, different things again and again, or if you had a thought but open-minded, you were pleasantly surprised by several vegetables.
I started Brussels sprouts, was like, ooh, okay, I really like these. I didn't really think would like them. And I started asparagus and I ate it a few times, but it got crossed off the list like 2 weeks ago. So I try stuff and then I try to cook it different ways. So I started reading a few different books and looking at different recipes and going online and looking at YouTube and trying to find different ways to make things. And every time I would talk to you and you would say, oh, don't use oil. And I'd be like, but how do you cook without oil? And then you say, oh, you use water or broth. And I'm like, and then the next morning I would get an email from Forks Over Knives saying how to cook without oil. And I say, okay, God, I get it. Okay. Oh, okay. I got it. So, and I've actually stopped using broth. I bought vegetable broth. I stopped using broth because of the sodium.
Do you ever make your own?
I kind of did a little blend puree kind of thing when I made beans. And so that worked out well. I put carrots and celery and onions and bell peppers, and I blended it in what was not a Vitamix, which I have now. It was just my regular old little blender thing. And I put it in and made the puree to put the beans in, and that worked really well. So,
yeah, sometimes if you take like a soup or a chili and you take about a quarter of it or a third and blend it and then put it back in, that'll make a nice thickener. That works really well.
I'll
See?
try that. Yep,
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, there's so much more. But okay, so now let's go back to your story. Do you recall? I know in your journal. I mean, you guys, she explained this journal to me like the first day that she wrote it down. She goes, "This is what I wrote yesterday when you wrote it." I mean, you showed me the journal. I remember that vividly, and then you showed me all the vegetables, and I'm like, she only likes 6 vegetables.
Right.
I was like,
we have lots more highlights. There's a lot more highlights. I'm trying.
Yes.
I try one new thing a week, and so
what a great idea.
So I don't overwhelm myself.
So tell us what your blood pressure was on the medications. Do you recall the first day?
I do. I have them all right here. All right. So on May 6th, when I started the actual blood pressure, I went and got the cuff and started doing it at home. It was 133/90.
And that was on 2 blood pressure pills?
That was on 2 blood pressure pills.
Okay. And do you recall, can you tell us what those were?
So, I'm sorry, what did you say?
What was the blood pressure pills? What blood pressure pills?
Metoprolol.
Metoprolol?
And I don't remember what the other one was.
I can't remember either. Was it amlodipine?
Yes, that's what it is. That was
it was amlodipine. All right. And so this is what's interesting. So you're still in a not as severe hypertensive as far as the 133/90, but you had higher days, I'm sure. The 133/90 is still what we consider pre-hypertension. Now that is on 2 meds. How high had it been previously? Because you were on 3 medications. Do you recall going to your doctor, where it would range?
Like 156 over like 105, things like that were always like, that's how I ended up getting on it in the first place, because it was always that high. And then it got cut down to like maybe 140. And then after the 3rd pill, it was like 130-ish, sometime one in the 120s every once in a while. But it usually lives around 130 something, in 130s.
So that was on 3 pills at one time. Wow. Okay. So you started at 180 and then you started eating vegetables. And do you want to tell them how quickly you got off 2 meds that you've been on? Well, 3 actually, because you did yourself. Yeah. And how many days did you get off these meds?
I was off by May 29th. I was in shock that, because you were cutting them. So we cut them in half, then we cut them in 4ths. And then by the time the end of the month, it kept going down, 120s, 110s. And it was like, okay, it's done. And I'm like, well, wait, what do I do in the morning now? I don't have to take blood pressure. And for about 2 weeks, it was really weird. I would get in the car and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I forgot to take my blood pressure medicine. I'm like, I don't have any blood pressure medicine.
So in 2 decades of pills gone in 27 days.
You got it. Isn't that crazy? It blew my mind. It still blows my mind to this day. Like when I tell people, because I'll talk to people and I'll be like, so you know how you'll see somebody on the internet or you're reading a book and they're telling you about how they changed their life. And I'm like, okay, it's me. You know me. Like I did that. And people see me and they're like, oh my gosh, like you lost so much weight. And I'm like, and I wasn't even trying to lose weight. I was trying to get off my blood pressure medicine and I'm off. Like done. Like no more pills. My blood pressure, it was like today, what was it? 118 over, where is that? I'm looking at my paper.
That 120 over 81 this morning.
120 over 81 this morning. 120 over 81 this morning.
On no pills. And how many pounds have you lost completely total?
From 180 to 162.
So 18 pounds in 4 months off 2 pills. Amazing.
And my husband wants to know if I'm hungry. I'm not. Because
exactly. So share with us, what were some of the hurdles? Like what were some of the, the dips and valleys in your journey, and how did you overcome them? Because you have some unique things that you did.
Yeah. So I had to, first of all, figure out what I could eat, right? Because I had stopped eating the butter and all that kind of stuff. And I came to the conclusion that I would rather not have things than have fake things. So I'm not eating fake anything. If it's supposed to taste like something else, I already know what that tastes like and I like it and it's good. So I'm not eating something that's supposed to be it. So I had to go through that and figure out, I don't want to eat that. So what I ended up trying to do is I would buy and organize everything because I'm kind of like a little OCD slightly and a little bit of a planner. So all of those things kicked in and they were very helpful. So I would go to the grocery store and I would come back and I would prep everything and then I would cook for the entire week. And so just all kind of veggies, anything that I liked, I would make. And then stir fry became my new best friend. And I would, each time I make stir fry, I add something new. Like I added Napa cabbage this week that I'd never had before. And so now that gets in there. I had cauliflower with something that I didn't have before. That's now in there. So just like adding different things to make it more. And mushrooms and avocado seems to be like my staple. I can't not have that in the house. It has to be in the house at all times because I can eat that with everything. And so I just really, I prep everything, I measure everything still, which is something that I already did with the other foods that I was eating. So it just kind of transferred over into that. So it wasn't a big deal. So yeah, for me, it's all about prep. If I don't prep, I'm lost because I can't be out in the street trying to figure out something to eat because the only thing that's out to eat is stuff that's not healthy. And I don't want a salad everywhere I go. So
right. So what do you take with you when you go somewhere?
So I always have, I started doing my own granola nut blend kind of thing. So I always have like a trail mix, I guess you would call it. It has craisins and sunflower seeds. Then they're all raw. So raw sunflower seeds, raw cashews, and raw almonds. And so I put them in a baggie and I just shake them up. So I always have that in my bag. I have granola bars, but I'm actually leaning towards making my own because I'm reading the labels of everything now. And so I'm like, oh, that's too much sugar in there. Oh, that's too much, too much salt in that. I'm going to just go ahead and start making my own. So that's my goal this week, is to actually start making my own granola or to have my own bar and bacon and everything. So I always have granola. I always have fruit. And I usually have a peanut butter or almond butter, an apple with the almond butter, and carrots or celery with the peanut butter. So I always have a snack bag, which I always had. So this isn't anything, that part isn't new for me because I always have snacks, but my snacks changed.
Very good. So then what's a normal fair day for you? So you're eating breakfast, lunch?
So I have breakfast, I have a snack, I have lunch, I have a snack, I have dinner, I have another snack. So what usually happens is, oatmeal was introduced into my life about 1.5 years ago. Never ate that before. So now 3 days a week I'll have oatmeal. Sometimes I'll have avocado toast. That's something new that I just started. And so when I have avocado toast, I'll have a piece of fruit. When I have oatmeal, I just started adding blueberries and almonds in my oatmeal. So that's something new. So that could be a breakfast. Sometime I'll have Honey Nut Cheerios with almond milk. Or I'll have a smoothie, which I just started putting spinach in. Thank you very much. That did not happen before. And if you knew me, you know how much spinach was like not a friend of mine. Like not even the smell of spinach. Like, and I still have only eaten it cooked once, but it's coming. I'm bringing it. So it's not that I don't say I don't like things anymore. I say I don't like them yet. So it's coming. I just haven't done it yet.
So this is a perfect example of what I would call a growth mindset, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the yet. So it's kind of like when you have kids and they're tested and let's say they didn't do well, you say, well, you just don't know it yet, right? Or you haven't done this yet. It's not that you can't, it's just not yet. So that's a perfect example of you're a person that had an open mindset, a growth mindset saying, I can do this. It's not that I can't. It's just that I've chosen before maybe not to or didn't know. and now I can. And then you took hold of it and you owned it and you made it your own, and you've had great success.
And it's interesting because I remember the first week I spoke with you, you told me my exercise was to actually go to the grocery store and walk over to the greens and say, you are the foods that are healthy. You're the foods that are going to make me healthy. And you told me to just walk out of the store and not buy anything. Well, I had already cleaned out the house and taken everything out that wasn't supposed to be. But I did, and I still have to have those conversations with the food. And because I really believe that half of my issue, they're halfway mental. It's a block of, oh my gosh, I didn't like that when I was a kid, right? And I had a very limited palate when I was a kid because I was allergic to so many things. So I was never forced to eat anything because they never knew how my body would react. So a lot of things that I say, oh, I don't like it, it was because I may have smelled it and I didn't like it, or I ate with my eyes. So I would be like, I don't like the way that looks, so I'm not eating that. And so my grandmother and my mom, they never made me eat it because they were like, oh, she might get sick from it. We're not going to do it. So now I really am having to introduce things to my palate and just, and even if I didn't like it before, like really trying it, because oatmeal and spinach and squash were the three things that if they came near me, I thought I was going to vomit. So when the oatmeal stayed down, I was like, ooh, success, it stayed down. Oh, the spinach stayed down. Okay. So now let's see what I can do to actually not hate it. Like, okay, I can eat it. Like, I'm never going to, as of right now, I won't say never. I'm not saying like, ooh, I can't wait to eat fill in the blank. But
Right.
you know, I'm learning how to eat different things. So like kale was introduced about 3 weeks ago into my diet, and I was struggling with the bitterness of it. And so when I first made it, I made it with some sugar, just a little bit of sugar in it to try to like kind of curb the bitterness. And then I was talking to my mom and she said, oh, remember your cousin used to put collard greens and kale together. And that was a really good combination. Well, when I did that, phenomenal. It worked really well. So I've been doing that. And actually the other day I bought some new pots. We won't even get into that, but I actually put it in and I put it in without any water because that's the specialty. You don't have to use water or oil with these pots. And I put it in, I put garlic in it, and I put onions at the bottom. And I wanted to put some corn on the whole kernel of corn because there was a recipe on there for that, but I didn't have that. So I just put it in, cooked it. Great. It worked out just fine. So like, it just like really just trying to reintroduce your palate. And I've been reading a lot of different articles, and my mom will send me things when she reads because she's like, everybody has joined the bandwagon in my family. Well, my husband, he's still in the protest a little bit, but he eats it. But they are like finding stuff and they're sending it to me, and they're like, oh, well, read this. This is going to help you. And so everybody's been really supportive. Like when I started, my husband was like, okay, for a week, I'll do it too. And so I've only cooked meat twice since May 2nd, like literally twice. And it was just like a surprise gift for him because I made stir fry. And every time I would make it, he would say, this would taste really good with some shrimp in it. Or this would taste really good with some, some chicken in it. So
Do you tell him you're the one that told me to stop eating meat?
so it's really funny because I've only cooked it twice, and it's funny. He's been very supportive. Like anything I need, he brings me fruit home and different fruits that I haven't had before, so I can try them. And he'll say, "Hey, why don't you try this week?" And so it's been really just fabulous. And my mom and my cousin, they jumped on and they did it with me. And my cousin's still doing it. My mom, she's sneaking back to shrimp and chicken every once in a while. But my cousin and I, we've been doing really well. So when we go out to eat, we find different restaurants that have things other than salad on the menu that we can eat. And so we'll have a conversation about, oh, you should try this, or she'll try something new. Like she made a veggie burger from scratch. And so she's like, oh, I'm going to mix this way. And so let me send it to you. And we send each other recipes that we find. So it's really good to have a support system too, because if everybody around you is eating meat and you don't have any willpower, like I am a person who has good, I don't want to say good willpower, but I guess it is. I have a good mindset of this is what I'm going to do, and you're not going to stop me from doing it. Like today is Labor Day, and I was waiting for my dad to call me and tell me all the ribs and chicken that he grilled, because that's our normal conversation. Because it's time to eat meat. That's what we do. And he called today and he was like, so I just called to check on you, see what you're doing. And I was like, you're not calling to tell me about all the ribs you make? He was like, nope, I didn't even make any. I'm like, good. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's interesting to see, like they're not stopping altogether, but they're not doing it as much. And so just trying to see how it's working for them. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, you just started this journey. So, I mean, it's only been 4 months. So imagine in a year, 2 years, 3 years, and the nice thing is you're super vocal about how excited you are and you
Yeah.
sharing that information. Okay, you got to tell us about that. Wasn't it like you went to a picnic or a barbecue? I can't remember.
Oh,
You told me so many
yes.
stories.
Oh my
You got
God.
to tell them now. That's hilarious.
So I just started the whole journey, and I go over to a friend's house and we're having a little barbecue slash dinner. And so when I walk in, my friend's husband says, "Oh, Veronica told me that you're not eating meat anymore. So she brought some vegetables and I'm going to stir fry them for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, can I watch? Because I don't know how to stir fry." And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, my doctor said I can't have oil." And he was like, "Well, Rewa, I don't know how to do it without oil. So let me just put a little bit in just to show you." So he shows me how to do the stir fry, and I'm introducing new vegetables that I don't normally eat. I started eating snow peas that night. So he puts all the stuff in, he stir fries it, and I'm sitting there. Great, thank you. So everybody at the table is watching me eat my little plate of veggies. No chicken. Everybody's got their chicken and hot dogs and everything. I'm over there eating my little stir fry, minding my own business. And are you on a diet? No, I am on a lifestyle change. I'm doing plant-based, no meat, no dairy. What? How can you do that? Oh my gosh, I can't. I'd never be able to do that. I'm not trying to make you do it. I'm just trying to get off my blood pressure medicine. So I'm eating somebody else. That's got to be really hard because, bacon is like really good. I'm like, yeah, bacon is delicious and it makes everything better. And so does butter. Butter's really good too. But because I'm, trying not to die, I'm going to go ahead and eat my little plate. Kept for like 45 minutes. Everybody shared everything of why they couldn't do it, how they couldn't do it. And I said, guys, why are we talking about my food? Like, eat your food. Like, leave me alone. It's okay. I said, my doctor told me because I had hereditary issues. I explained to her that I was hereditary, that I had blood pressure and heart problems and diabetes. I said, but she told me that the heredity is the gun and your lifestyle and your diet are the bullets and the trigger. And they're all gun owners. So they all were like, oh my God.
Yep. So the genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. Yep.
So when I said that, then it was everybody looking at their plate like, oh, okay, well, maybe you might be right. And I said, hey, I'm just eating my little veggies. Leave me alone. I'm not bothering anybody.
I like he's like, y'all just pay attention to I'm just eating vegetables.
Right.
Isn't it interesting? It's become so entwined in our culture that this is how you eat, that you step outside of it and really eat healthy. I mean, this is science driven. It's really fascinating, isn't it?
I was at the grocery store and I had all my little stuff and I'm going through the lady looked at me. She said, wow, this is a really healthy basket. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to do this new lifestyle change and I'm doing plant-based, no meat, no dairy. She's like, wow, well, good luck to you. This is great. Look at all the good stuff in your basket. I'm like, thanks. So people notice it, like, and people say things about it. It's interesting the dialogue that happens because of it. So every time I say it, like I told Dr. Marvis not to call me a vegan because I'm a plant-based, no meat, no dairy. I know that's the definition, whatever. So every time I say it, people will be like, oh, and and one guy was like, but you have a leather purse. I was like, dude, I just told you it was because of my blood pressure. Like, leave my lifestyle outside of this alone. Like, It really is for me right now. And I'm not saying later on it won't be, but right now it really is about my blood pressure. And the weight loss has just been like a side benefit because I'm always trying to lose weight. Like, what? I was actually able to put on a size 10. I haven't had on a size 10 since 1998. It is 2018. Thank you very much.
So in 20 years, you haven't been this light in 20 years.
Yes. And I'm I feel like I can go up the stairs. Now I wake up with the chickens, and even though I don't eat chickens or their eggs, I'm waking up with the chickens, but I have like 10:45. My body is like, it's time to go to bed, girl. You got to go to sleep. So I'm getting, it's time to go to bed, and it's good.
Has the quality of your sleep changed?
I was a really good sleeper before, so that hasn't impacted. But I get really irritated when my sleep is interrupted, and I think that probably was a trait I had before. But I feel like everything is highlighted for me. Like, all my senses are very high now, and I feel like I'm attuned. My body is attuned to everything. It's attuned to noise. It's attuned to taste. I hadn't been eating anything sweet. I only use honey in my oatmeal. And I go to a health food grocery store and I'm like, oh, look, these are some fruit popsicles. I'm going to get them. And I take one out and I taste the first bite. It was so sweet. I came running to my husband's office. I was like, taste this. What is this? This is supposed to be healthy. This is not healthy. Taste it. And so he was like, yeah, that's really sweet. He was like, but it's really not that sweet. You just haven't had anything sweet lately except for fruits. And so you've only had natural sugar. So for you, this tastes like your teeth are about to fall out. But for me, it's fine. And I was like, yeah, this is too sweet. So I really started reading the labels of everything. And I started trying to make my own everything. So now I'm like blending everything and put it in a little popsicle sticks. I'm like trying to find a Tupperware thing from back in the day when I was like 10 where you could make your own popsicle stick.
I think they have them on Amazon.
Okay, I gotta get one.
The popsicle forms little thing.
So like just really realizing that, and my whole mentality is, why do I need to go out? Like I can make my own stuff. I can make it how I want to. I don't have to worry about if you're putting something in it that's not supposed to be in it, and I can make it taste how I want to taste. So
Absolutely. Wow. So now there was some, what do you feel like, what have you feel is the biggest lesson from this? Like, what do you feel is just like, you were so surprised, I guess, like, wow, like this was the one thing that really sticks out for me.
Wow. One thing, I don't know what, I think for me, honestly, it has been the correlation with this and my faith of how I ask God to help me. And I really feel like that's the only way that this has happened, because I swear I had the tip of my tongue. Like last week, I wanted a Chick-fil-A nugget, and I was like, I could taste that Chick-fil-A nugget like right there on my tongue. And I told my husband, he was like, well, did you get it? He's like, you didn't get it, did you? I was like, nope. That's not going to be the food that keeps me healthy. And I really have those conversations. It's mental. So I guess that's the biggest thing for me is this mental of what I think I should have or what I think I'm used to having, and how I've been conditioned to believe that this is what's supposed to be good or this is supposed to taste good. And yeah, it's salty, but that doesn't mean it tastes good. It just means it tastes salty or it tastes too sweet for me. And so now my palate is so attuned to anything that is not, I don't want to say, I guess I'm going to say not healthy. That's not good for you. And so the mental piece for me of, yeah, I would eat a whole bag of chips. And now I'm like, I might have like 2 Pringles, maybe if I'm feeling it. But then I'm like, yeah, I don't even want that anymore. It's just really trying to mentally prepare myself for this palate change of, okay, God, I need help. I'm going to eat something new today. And I need you to keep my mind open to receive that it's going to be edible, and then it can stay down, and that I can make it taste good. And so like that has been the battles for that each week, something new. You figure out whether it's a fruit, whether it's a veggie. And the fruits aren't as bad for me, maybe because they're sweet, I don't know. But I actually have just been blending most of them. I'll eat like a piece throughout the day. I'll eat 1 piece or maybe 2 pieces at the time. But usually I try to like make a smoothie out of something, and that's usually like my dessert. And I'm not full. So this is so cool. At the end of dinner, I'm not bloated. And I'm not feeling like, oh my God, I gotta go lay down. Like I'm so tired. Like I feel like, okay, I can have a smoothie. Like I'll make a small fruit blend, and I'll drink that, and that's my dessert. Well, now I have a Vitamix, and I can make frozen desserts with it. So I can actually have some strawberry ice cream without any ice cream stuff, no dairy stuff.
So we talked about blenders, when that's been about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks, yeah.
And now you have a better blender than I have. Which I think is fabulous.
It's
I love
hilarious. I was telling you at the start that I bought new pots and pans, and I bought a new blender. And so the blender is a professional grade blender that they use at the major coffee chains, is what it was said on when I was watching the TV show before I bought it. And so I'm unpacking it, and it's got this side cup where you can make dry peanut butter and knead bread and like all this stuff. And I'm taking it out, and I got all the pots all over the place. And my husband says, "Are you opening a food truck?" And I'm like, no. He was like, "You're doing all this for veggies? All you're making is vegetable."
I mean, you may have a restaurant someday. Who knows what you're going to do? It's fascinating because what I really appreciate about you is that you're so brutally honest about the challenges, but you're just like, yeah, I'm heading on. You're just like a bull ramming the obstacles, right? You just obliterate them, move on. Yeah, get out of my way. I got blood pressure to deal
Yeah,
with.
and that's always my focus. Like every time anything I'm thinking about, okay, what is it that I want? I want to be off these pills and I want to stay off these pills. I don't want my blood pressure to be out of control. I want to manage it and I want to manage it with the food. And that was one of the things you told me about your body is being managed by the food versus me managing the food. And it has been just unbelievable. I still like wake up and as I'm in there cooking, I'm like, I cannot believe I don't have to take blood pressure pills anymore. Oh my gosh, and it's all because I'm eating this food. Like, how is that possible? Like, it's mind blowing to me that that is even possible. And I'm saying, like I tell my friends, I'm like, it's me. Like, it's not somebody on the internet that you don't know. Like, this is me. It's not somebody you're reading about or seeing. It is me. Like, I did this. Like, you can do it too. Like, if you don't want to be on that med, you don't want to be on those meds, you don't want to do stuff. And I find myself saying, like, we go out to dinner. I did not realize how much my social life was wrapped around food. So everywhere that I've gone with my girlfriends, it's always to a restaurant. So we're always sitting around eating. And so now they're like, okay, I checked the menu before to see if there was anything that you can eat. And, you know, they have this, and this, and, or they'll give me like options of where we can go. So it's because they're very considerate of, you know, we know you're trying to do this lifestyle change. So here's some options for you. So it's not just steak and potatoes. It's actually, and something other than salad. Because my motto is I can eat a salad at home. I'm not eating salad out in public. So figure out something else that I can have. And so everybody's been really good. That's how I got avocado toast introduced to my life. And so, because we went out to a restaurant and they had it, and I still can't make it as good as they made it. I don't know what they put on it, but it was delicious. And I've been trying different stuff. And now I can eat hot stuff. I never could eat spicy food before.
Really? What happened when you eat spicy food?
I would get, I don't know for sure. I guess this is a doctor's choice.
Oh, you bring it on. Let's let them know.
I would have indigestion and I would get hemorrhoids.
And now what happens when you eat hot food?
Not a thing.
I just wonder why that is.
Because the plants.
Yep, and your gut bacteria. You're so funny. And maybe for those who are just listening and not watching, he's doing like a little dance. But seriously, this is why I giggle like most of the visit. And our visits would go so long, they would actually time out. Like I would like extend the time. It's like, all right, Dr. Mars, you're done. I'm like, what just happened here? That was how our last visit ended. It was like, what? I was in the middle of listening to this story.
I know. Sorry, guys.
That was so funny. But that was really cool is that you're just, I just love how you're just head on sharing it. Because I think a lot of people will resonate with you. Like, you know, a lot of patients, I think they don't want to disappoint me and they'll kind of gloss over this other, but you're just like, this isn't working. And do you see this, I had to throw that off the list last week, and I'm like, okay.
I'm continually, like yesterday I made a big pot of brown rice, got cut off I was like, I ate it, but I was like, I'm not making this again. And I did the same thing with that, not couscous, what's the other one? Quinoa. And I was like, I don't like that either. So apparently I don't like all the healthy rices, is what it sounds like.
But, you know, there's other stuff. I mean, yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, as long as you're getting your oatmeal and whole grain toast or something in there, grains are very good for you. Maybe just in some future day, add a little bit of rice to a stir fry, just a little. That's
how I made it. That's how I made the brown rice. That's why I made the brown rice, because my cousin was like, you need to try brown rice instead of white rice when you make your stir fry. And so my husband likes brown rice. So I go bopping up to the store and I'm like, oh yeah. And I made the whole bag. And I'm like, got my new little 5-quart pot that I have. And rice cooks it. So I cooked it all and I tasted it. And I was like,
yeah, brown rice by itself, yeah, but mixed with stir fry, you didn't like it?
It was fine, but it was okay. It's manageable. It's edible. That's my response. It's edible. I ate it, and I have my little 3 days worth to eat, and I'm going to eat it. However, I'm not going to say I'm never going to cook it again, but I'm just not on board right now.
That is so funny. Oh, my goodness. So what have you found that your friends are saying? I mean, what were you surprised? Like, did anyone besides your girlfriend or your cousin did the diet with you? Has she seen any benefits, by the way?
Oh, Her blood pressure has been lowered because she was on blood pressure pills too. And so I'm like, you need to go talk to your doctor, see what she says. And so she can tell when it drops, and it has been dropping. And she's like, I can't take that whole pill because it's too much. And I'm like, yeah, you got to see your doctor. So she has noticed she's lost some weight. She has, the blood pressure is lowered as well. And she's had more energy. So it's been interesting. And her whole family, she'll cook them the regular food, and then she'll make her food. And she was like, they're always eating my veggies. Every time they're like, oh, I like it. So last night she said they had meatless Friday is what they called it, or whatever day that was, Friday. She said it was meatless Friday. So she made all veggies, and they all ate it, and they liked it.
Oh, so now do you see what's happening?
It's a chain of chains. Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's like these little steps, right? So you have the first step, and these are the next step, and it's this ripple effect. And that's what's going to start happening. That is really cool. So now, what about your mom? Has she seen anything, even with her limited?
Yeah, it's funny because she was. I was telling you that every time I would even think about like eating meat, something would happen. So like the first time it was like, oh, you're off your pills, or maybe you could have fish, because it's always somebody saying this to me. Oh, well, maybe you could have fish. You shouldn't have to have it. And I'm like, yeah, no, mom, no eyes. That's the rule.
The food can't have a face or come from a face. No,
That's
mom.
right. No mom, no eyes. And so they're like, oh, and so anytime I would even think about it, a relative would go in the hospital. So like the first time somebody would say it, and I would kind of be like, yeah, no, I'm not really supposed to have that. My uncle went in the hospital. Then the next time, oh, well, maybe you could try shrimp. Or I'm like, no meat, no. My cousin went in the hospital. Then the next time, it's been a few weeks, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm off my pills, and and then it was like, my cousin passed away. Then the next time, oh, well, you need to try, why don't you try this? And then my mom went in the hospital. So that's where we started. She went in the hospital. It was heart related, and they got her out. Her blood pressure was really high. They got it all managed. Well, then she had to come and stay at my house. Well, guess what she had to eat? Because guess what Rewa cooks every day? She cooks plant-based at her house. Ask her husband, because she's like sick of eating plants all day. But he's doing it. He's on board. He is a good cheerleader. So she had to do it. And so literally I would cook for her. I would cook her morning. I would do her snack. I would do her lunch. I would do her snack. I would do her dinner. She would have a snack, and she would go to bed. So she was eating it. She was under protest for a few days, but she got used to it. And so she did it for about 2 weeks. Then she had to go home. And so then it was, I just can't take all this time to cook all this stuff. And I said, but you got to cook. You got to cook anyway. So why not cook something that's not going to take a whole long time? And the veggies don't take that long to cook. And you can stir fry them. You can bake them. You can roast them, however. And so we have these constant conversations about it. So she actually lost weight, and she got down to, what did she tell me she was at this week? Because she started a challenge at the gym. I think she said she was at 186, and she was at like 210 when she was with me, before she went in the hospital. So this food thing is really making me lose weight. And I was like, well, you wanted to lose weight. And she was like, yeah, but I want to eat some food. I'm like, well, you're eating. You just have to really be careful. And so what I'm noticing is, like, I try to have my colorful plate, right? And so that's one of the things she and I always talk about is you can't just have like one veggie and then a starch. You have to have like 2 or 3 veggies and a starch or something like that. You have to build it, because you're not eating that meat, and the meat is what filled you up and made you swollen. So you have to eat the other stuff. And so she's just used to having like 3 things on her plate. Well, when I cook, I'm like, you got greens, you got Brussels sprouts, you got corn, you got this. Like it's a whole array. You got corn, you got carrots, you have a whole bunch of stuff on the plate with a little bit of starch on the side. And so I'm measuring everything, and so she has a hard time with that. But I'm very rigid, as she would call me. A warden nurse is what my name was. She's not like that, right? So she's like, free spirit, I don't want to have to do that. And I'm like, if you want to lose this weight, you got to do this. If you want to be healthy, you have to do this. And so that personality trait, I think, has really helped me in this whole process of being dedicated to this lifestyle change, knowing that when I go out to eat with people, they can eat whatever they want to eat. That's fine. And I make my choice of what I want to eat. And just for Father's Day, for example, my father-in-law invited us out to dinner. We go to this very popular restaurant here locally that has an all-you-can-eat meal of every kind of meat that you can imagine, cooked every type of way that you can imagine it. And I get there, and they have all this food spread out all over the table. And I look down at them and they look at me and I get my little menu and I say, so I see you have vegan options. I looked on your menu before I came. And he was like, oh, we have a fabulous salad bar. I don't want a salad. I don't eat salads out in public. What else? And he was like, oh, we have all these veggies. And I'm like, okay, great. He was like, but you got to be really careful because some of them are cooked in pork. And I look at him and I say, okay, thanks for that information. And my husband looks at me. I get in my purse and I politely get a napkin. I spread it out on the plate. I get my apple, I get my almond butter, and I get my almonds. And I proceed to eat. And they all look down at me and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not eating anything here because I don't know how it was cooked. And I don't want to add something to my diet that I haven't been eating. So I'm going to eat my apple and I'm going to eat my almond butter and I'm going to eat my nuts. And then when I get home, I'm going to eat my dinner. I'm fine. Eat your meat. Have a good time.
Because that probably saved you, because if it had salt in it, if it had oil, I mean, you would have not felt well.
Right.
Exactly. You want to talk a little bit about
Oh, yeah.
I think that's really important because people are saying, oh, this is vegan or plant-based, and it's not necessarily healthy. So what happened? Yes. Someone came and cooked some things for you, and they said,
we bought some. Oh my gosh, we bought some new pots, and so they had a cooking demonstration. And so the young lady made a meal for us. She made a stir fry because I told her I really like stir fry, and I wanted to see how to make it in the actual pots. And so she brings this amino stuff over. I don't even remember what it was called. And she was like, "Oh,
amino acids, yeah,
amino acids." She was like, "Oh, everybody uses it. That's vegan that I know, and it's really good. It's made from veggies, this, that, and the other." So she puts it on and she cooks it. I eat, she leaves. Not 45 minutes later, my head is throbbing. Like right here, I'm like holding my head, like, oh my gosh, my eyeball's about to pop out. Like, what is going on? So I get my blood pressure cuff off and I take my blood pressure. It's 141 over 101. I went crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. How did my blood pressure get this high? What is going on?
Salt.
It's the salt. And I go in, I look at the back of the package. There's so much sodium there. And I haven't been doing sodium. So people who are doing sodium, yes, that's a great alternative for them, but it's not a good alternative for me because I don't do salt anymore. And so I still have like those little 12.5 blood pressure pills because I swear I was having a stroke that night. So I go and I take a pill. I'm like, I'm just going to lay in the middle of the bed. I'm going to meditate and I will pray and ask God to keep me safe and not die in the middle of the night from eating all this salt.
But what's interesting is your blood pressure before, even on medications, was that high. You had none of those ill effects with the headache. But now you're off the pills, normalized blood pressure, and it goes up 20 points, and you're having headaches.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
I noticed like my body is very sensitive to everything now. It's sensitive to light. It's sensitive to cold. It's sensitive to noise. It's sensitive to food. Like everything is highlighted in me since I've done this, and it's been so interesting because I'm like, oh, that's too loud. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, it's too cold. Like everything is so highlighted, and it's just so intense with the sensitivity level. But the food thing, anytime I eat something, like if it's like too much salt. Oh no, too sweet. It's automatic. It's no in between. I'm like, oh, can't eat that. Or even if I try to take a bite of something, I'm like, yeah, no, that's too sweet. I can't have it now. Yeah,
you have a heightened sensitive, like your senses are like alive now.
They are like no more. And it's so the first time I ate a blueberry since I started this, as I didn't eat blueberries, I put it in my mouth and it like burst, and I was like, oh, that's a blueberry. Blueberry tastes like that. Oh my gosh! Like I can taste everything. I feel like I can taste dirt now. Like honestly, when I'm chewing something, I'm like, I can taste the ground that this was grown in. Like.
That's really interesting, right? Though, so what would be interesting is you buy organic tomatoes, maybe from like a farmer's market, and then you eat something like from the grocery store. This just doesn't compare. The color, right? So the colors are more intense. The flavor. I mean, the grocery store tomatoes are like bland and nothing. But if you go to a farmer's market and you buy these, you gotta find these. I found these. They're chocolate tomatoes. That's what they're called.
Okay, let me write that down because you know that's not on my list. That's not on my list.
You're gonna have to find these. They're delicious. And then when the peaches that are growing around, oh my goodness, we have a little farmer's market not far from us, literally walking distance. Oh my goodness! But yeah, they're called chocolate tomatoes. Mm-hmm. How do you describe the taste? They're a darker reddish brown color, but boy, they're delicious.
Really? Okay. So I have to, because I got the little ones got off the list. So we'll have to see
You
if
have
those
little,
make
you got rid of your little
the cherry tomatoes did not make the cut. I
Were
know.
those like organic?
I
Like
don't know.
from a farmer's? If you
I
can't,
don't.
you can't judge a tomato if you buy it from a regular grocery store.
Okay. Well, and I joined a co-op and I did that for a week and it
Okay.
was just so much food and I couldn't because it's only two of us and
Yeah.
he's eating it, but you know, he's not
It's a
eating.
lot.
It's
Yeah.
it was so much. So I started going to one of the local health. They're not health food stores. They're just not the normal chains. And so
Natural
then I
groceries.
started, yeah, the natural ones. And so we do have some farmers markets. But I know that when I get them from there, I have to cook it quickly. Like I can't hold on to stuff. So that's
Mhm.
something that I've learned over this journey. Like when I get it from somewhere other than like a normal chain grocery store, its shelf life is like 2 to 3 days. And so and I'll talk to the people there, and I'm like, hey, I've never had red leaf lettuce before. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Have you ever had it before? What does it taste like? And so I'm like quizzing the people at the grocery store now, asking all kind of questions about them because I've never had it. And so I'm looking it up online saying, hey, what is this like? And does it taste like something else? Is it bitter? Because I don't want anything bitter. And so red leaf lettuce got introduced the other day and it was good.
Now, with the kale, are you using the baby kale or are you using the
I know you
basil?
told me about the baby kale. And so honestly, I have not found baby kale, but the
Baby
leaf,
kale is everywhere, like in every grocery store I've ever been to.
I haven't gotten it
It's
yet.
even at Walmart.
Oh, I never go to Walmart.
All right, you got. Oh well, I'm just saying. But
Okay.
if you go, it's in the bag section or the
Okay.
it'll be in like a plastic
Oh yeah.
box,
Well, and
one of the bags.
I've gotten on board with the curly one.
Yeah, but I'm preferable to baby kale because it's not bitter.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah,
get
but
it.
some people have a bitter taste bud, like my middle kiddo does, and he's not a big fan of like curly kale.
Mm.
But yeah.
Well, I did the curly kale and I baked it and made kale chips with it, and that was yummy. And
Yeah.
smoked paprika has been my new best friend. I never ate that
Mm.
before, but
I
apparently
like
that's
smoked pepper. It's really strong, so it doesn't take much.
yeah, not at all.
Nice.
So yeah, that's good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Is there anything else physically that has improved
Oh, what is it?
besides the clarity, your energy, which you already had a lot before? Your poor husband. And oh my
People
goodness.
at work are like, "What is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing?" And I don't drink coffee, and so I'm always like here, and everybody else is like here. Like Monday mornings, I'm walking. I'm like, "Good morning, everybody." And they're like, "The morning people are here. The rest of us aren't here yet. I need a cup of coffee." But I really feel energized, and I feel like just not bloated like at all. I've lost like you don't know, like you people don't know me, but I was like really fat, like right here. Like my mom sent me a picture of us in 2016 and like my face was like here and my
Wow.
neck was like here and she was like, look how fat we were. I was like,
But if you think about it, I mean, you've lost 18 pounds since I started working with you, and you 10 pounds, but that's 28 pounds probably from that picture.
absolutely. So that's crazy. So I was like, wow. And so whenever different things, like I said, I had to buy 10. So this has been crazy. So I walked in the other day and I leaned down and kissed my husband. He was like, look how skinny your neck is. I was like, I know. Isn't it skinny? And I came in from work Friday and I walked up to him and he was like, where's your body? Like half of your body's gone.
And that is, and your skin glows.
No.
I mean, there has been some, you're so adorable. I always look for, I was like, ooh, Rue's on the schedule today. We're going to be giggling.
I know, giggling all through the appointment. Honestly, like just I can't even describe just honestly just how different everything is though. But just the conversations that I have with food now are, if someone saw me would probably think I was crazy, but I don't care because I know that mentally I have to have this conversation and even to like get past stuff. So my hairstylist and I were talking about food and she was like, you totally need to make a blog for people who don't like vegetables. And I was like, yeah, because I'm learning how to eat them, but it's not something that I ate. And so we actually had a conversation about what do you remember about vegetables? Like, and she was like, oh my gosh, I remember sitting at the table and being forced to eat them, that I couldn't get up and I couldn't get up until I finished them. And I said, so let's flip that and let's think about, they were trying to make you healthy. they weren't punishing you to eat the vegetables. They were trying to get you to eat right. I said, and she was like, well, I didn't really think about it like that. I said, so let's flip that and think about, so now that you're an adult, you had an aversion to different veggies. Let's figure out how you can try to introduce one veggie. I said, everybody can't go cold turkey like I did, or cold tofu, as they say on that video I was watching. You can't go cold turkey. I can go cold turkey with anything because I am the personality of, I'm either in or I'm out. I can't be halfway. That's just who I am as a person, because if I say I can eat meat on Monday, Wednesday, and then I eat it on Thursday too, and then it's like, oh, I'll make it up next week. Yeah, so I either need to not do it or I need to do it. Everybody doesn't have that personality, but for me, I had to go cold turkey. I had to take everything out of the refrigerator. I had to take all my dairy back to the grocery store. I just personally had to do that because that's just who I am. And I think when you know that about yourself and what your temptations are and what's going to tempt you to not do what you need to do, that is part of this battle as well. Because if you know potato chips are your thing, like, okay, so learn how to make potato chips. To me, it's like, take the potato, slice it really thin, and put it in the oven. Mm-hmm. Go. You still get the crunch, or find something that still gives you a crunch. So when I want crunchy things, I'll eat nuts or I'll eat an apple, and I'll still have that same mental crunch that I would normally have with a bag of chips that I would eat. And sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm just eating a chip today. Okay, whatever. Let's eat a chip. Mm-hmm. But you don't eat the whole bag, and you don't eat every single thing. And I'm trying to get to the point where I'm like totally oil free, and I haven't gotten to that, but I have improved so much that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm celebrating. And I think people don't recognize what they've changed and don't highlight and celebrate what they've done. They just beat themselves up on what they haven't done. So let's think about, well, I made a change. Okay, so now when I'm looking at the potato chip bag, I'm looking like, okay, what kind of oil is it fried in? And is it how much sodium is it in? Oh, is that going to be worth? So everything for me is it worth? Is this worth me dying for? That's my question. And so my family laughs every time I say that. I'm like, is this like my last meal? Is this worth my last meal? So my anniversary was July 9th. And I was reading How Not to Die.
By Dr. Greger.
Yeah, by Dr. Greger. And so one of the things he talked about was your last meal, that we eat like it's our last meal. And so he was like, well, what would you eat at your last meal? So my husband and I have this conversation. I was like, honey, I got to figure out what to eat. It's our anniversary. I know we're going to go out to dinner. And if this was my last meal, what would I eat? So we talked about this for like 4 hours.
4 hours.
And he said, we were laying in the bed, and he said, babe, just make a decision. Like, we've been talking about this for hours. Just decide what you want to eat. And I was like, maybe I want Chick-fil-A. He was like, who gets Chick-fil-A for that last meal? I'm somebody who hasn't had Chick-fil-A in 3 months is the person who gets Chick-fil-A, who ate Chick-fil-A like 4 days a week normally. So he was like, well, I would think that you would want a steak. And I was like, yeah, no. I said, maybe a piece of bacon. He was like, that's going to go too fast. Like, we're literally having this conversation. And so we go to bed. I wake up the next day. All day, I'm pondering, what am I going to eat for my last meal? What am I going to eat for my last meal? So 7 o'clock, he comes home, and we're getting ready to go to dinner. And he's like, have you figured out what you want to eat? And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, did you eat something already? He was like, yeah. I said, well, I already ate my veggies. I want dessert. And he looked at me. He's like, that's what you want for your last meal? I was like, that is going to be what I eat today. So if I die tonight, we are getting cheesecake and a piece of chocolate cake, and we're going to share it. And so we went to the restaurant. I said, oh, we're eating this dessert. I got a piece of cheesecake. We got a piece of chocolate cake, and we sat there, we ate it. And I had 4 glasses of water with it because I was like, it's going to kill me. I'm probably going to die tonight. I'll be good and flushed. I got home. I was fine. And I haven't had anything like that since. And he was like, that's what you chose for your last meal. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, so like really mentally, what do I want to eat? Like, these are the foods that are going to make me healthy. These are the foods that are not. So what do you make the choice to do? So that's where I am right now on this journey.
That's amazing. So those are some really important things to highlight, right? So when you're deciding what you're going to do, regardless of what everyone else says or thinks, right? So you're in control. You don't care what other people are saying or doing. And that's how we should all be about that, right? Because when we take this on, it's for ourselves, because now look at you and the advantages you have. You have more energy, so you're more attentive at work. Not that you didn't have energy before, but more energy. Your focus is better, so you're a better employee. you're probably more responsive to your husband, more alert in relationships. I mean, you feel better. You're going to live longer. You can be around longer, Lord willing. Everything else goes good. Those are the things that you look forward to doing. I mean, wow, these are some very positive things because you've taken care of yourself. You can do more for others too.
And I have 3 jobs now, and I've never had 3 jobs in my entire life. I've always only had one job. So I was a teacher my whole life, and I was always a teacher. And then for the summers, I would like get a summer part-time job. And then I started working at Apple part-time before I've been going through this whole transformation. So part of my transformation, it started with the spiritual transformation. So now I'm on the physical transformation part. And so I took off a whole year from work, and I was working part-time at Apple. That's how I got connected with you with my insurance, with Doctor on Demand. And so I kept that job because the benefits are so good. And I'm like, I'm not leaving that job. Well, I started teaching again this year. And so I was like, okay, but I also have a small business. And so all 3 things. So normally I just told my husband Fridays would always be, I get off work and I get in the bed for like 3 hours and take a nap. I left work Friday and I worked till 10 o'clock at Apple, and I was fine.
Wow. And see, that's the type of energy we should have.
Right. And everybody's like, we're waiting to see when you're going to crash because we can't believe that you have 3 jobs. And I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it either. But it really has made me just very attuned to my time. So like how I choose to spend my time. So everything for me right now is about choice. So I'm not going to sit and watch TV for 3 hours. I'm not going to be on social media for 45 minutes. Like I literally have a timer and it sets, and I'm like, okay, this is how much social media time I get per day. And once that's done, if I didn't get to your feed, I'm sorry, but that's it. That's the cutoff, and I'm done. I know every Saturday I get up at 7 a.m. I go to the grocery store. I buy all my stuff. I cook until 11 o'clock so I can have all my stuff. I pack it all up so I'll be ready for the week. I know that's what I have to do to make sure that I'm prepared to do what I need to do. Everybody's not willing to make that commitment. And it is a commitment. It's a commitment, but it's a commitment for me and my health. And that's the choice that I decided to make. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. But it's easy to go through the drive-through. Absolutely. That's why it's called fast food. It's convenient to go through and get it, and you don't have to spend the time. But for me, I would rather just do the upfront work and prep and then just have what I need throughout the week. And I could just go in the refrigerator. I bought new bowls. They're really pretty. Like I spent a lot of money doing this whole thing. I don't know what is happening, but I bought little pretty bowls and little containers and everything. And I got bags and I'm pulling things out. But I know each day when I wake up in the morning, all I have to do is pull my stuff out and put it right in my lunchbox, and I'm good.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, so there's so much we can unpack from that. So basically, one, you're like, yeah, some people don't want to make that commitment, but I think they don't realize what they're missing, right? Because on the other side of the bit of extra work that you're doing in the beginning is really the benefits that you can't even begin to fathom because we're so used to being ill. We're used to this normal life is just like existing. It's not thriving, right? It's not having the energy to do all those things. Because I know as I get closer to 50, it means a lot. I'm like, I probably live more than half my lifespan already. I better make sure these last bits are, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I really need to focus on that.
Yeah.
And so that's really important because I want to be around because, I've got children getting married now and, they're growing and finishing college, going to medical school. I want to be there and be the healthy grandma on the floor playing with them and going and running the 5K or doing something like that. So someone, that's the type of thing that's so very, very important.
Yeah. It's interesting to even just think about like the choices that you make every day. Like to just get up, what do you choose to do with your day, period? Well, you got to go to work. That's given. And so people would say to me, oh my gosh, you're doing that plant-based, but it's so expensive to eat healthy. And I'm like, so it's expensive to me. Like I don't want to give my money. No offense, Walgreens, I love you, but I don't want to give you any more money to pay for those pills that I've been on for over 20 years that I've had to give $30 every month for that, right? I just personally don't want to do that anymore. I want to go to Walgreens and I want to get some water. I want to get whatever I'm going to get, but I don't want to have to get pills. So there's $30 that just got added into my grocery bill. But when I literally go every week, I might spend $40, and that's if I'm being adventurous, like if I'm trying new stuff that I've never had before, or I'm adding something different, and I'm okay with that. Because normally my budget for food was like $170 for the month, and so I'm okay with that. Like, what are you going to do? But it goes back to choice, though. Like, you can say that you don't want to make that choice, but why not? Okay, don't
So
get a
you're
pack of hot dogs.
let's back that up. You're feeding yourself and your husband on $40 a week?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to start a blog. I'm going to tell you this right now. You need to start a blog if you're feeding two people on $40 a week, a healthy whole food plant-based diet, because people think that's expensive, that eating plant-based. It's way cheaper because meat and dairy, one, are expensive. Two, the medications are expensive. You're borrowing from your future every time you eat something unhealthy, right?
Right.
That's how I look at it.
Oh, I like that.
But you really need to focus on sharing your message. One, you're very engaging. Number two, you have a lot of information just in the last 4 months. But it's this mind thing. You got to, I mean, you really should. And
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone listening would agree.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, my hairstylist wants me to start a blog called what is it? What is it? Being a vegan for people who hate vegetables or something crazy like that.
Something to that degree is like, so you want to eat vegetables? You
Yeah.
hate them. This is how you do it.
Yeah. It's really interesting just to see that this whole process. Like, it has been eye-opening. It's been enlightening of, oh my gosh. So even on the days, and it's not a lot of days, like I haven't had a lot of days where I felt like, oh, I just wish I could just go and just eat something. Like, I had it last week. I had it like probably, I think maybe over this whole time, it's probably maybe 3 times where I felt like, oh, I'm sick of just cooking all this stuff. I could just go and get, go to somewhere and just get something. And then I think, okay, but when I go somewhere, I'm always looking at, that costs $10. You know how many bags of whatever I can get for $10? Like, that is always my mentality of, okay, I'm getting this avocado toast at this really fancy hoity-toity restaurant, and it was like $13. And so I look at my girlfriend, I'm like, you know how many avocados I can buy for $13? And she was like, I know, but it's just the ambiance, and we could just spend some time together. I was like, okay, that's the only reason I'm here, because $13, I can get a whole thing of avocados and some bread, 2 things of bread. And she was like,
But no, that's a really good tip that you're sharing here. So what you've done is so you're having a craving or a thought. What you do is you write it out and you imagine, well, what is the outcome that's going to occur? And are you okay with that future outcome?
and I put everything in this journal. Like when I'm struggling, like I made some tacos for the first time, and I used black beans and yellow rice. And what else did I put? I put lettuce, and I had the tortilla chip thing, and I took a bite into it, and I wrote, this needs cheese. Like, tacos need cheese. And so I have a Facebook page that I have with some friends called Team Healthy, and we were going, and I wrote, tacos need cheese, and I put hashtag no dairy. And so I was like, and I remember telling you, and you were like, try avocado. And it changed my life. Like, I'm like eating tacos all the time now with avocado on it, and I don't miss the cheese. But it's like, you don't know, like, what, because I have texture issues. So I'm like, I need something here, and I need, like, that. I want to, like, that's too mushy, or I don't like this, and I like that. And so really just trying to figure out, like, anytime I would have an issue, and I would say, oh, Dr. Marvis, I can't believe I did. You would always give me, like, oh, why don't you try this? And I would write it down, and I would try it. I'm like, oh, okay, that worked. That was helpful.
But that just comes from experience. So now you have all these experience. That's just from me learning, one, from other people, from personal experience, having children that were like, this isn't working. And it's like, well, what can I do? So, that just comes with experience. In 6 months, in a year, you'll have pretty much, I'm sure, have encompassed all, if not most, any thoughts or the foods and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, and then it's just like, well, I've been doing this my whole life. You can't remember not doing it. Honestly, I struggle to remember what we did before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's really neat because I don't, like, my husband doesn't pressure me to cook meat or anything. So he's been really good. Like, when I make the smoothie, like the first day I made the spinach, I put the spinach in. So one of the guys at church was like, so we would start with spinach. He was like, don't start with kale, because they drink this green drink every Sunday. And he's always like harassing me, like putting it in my face saying, you need to drink this. I'm like, dude, that's dirt. Like, I'm not drinking that. And so he was like, but if she would have started me out like this, like, I wouldn't have been able to do it. He was like, just put a handful of spinach in your smoothie and see how you can do it. So I was like, that was my goal. The one, I'm going to do it. Stephen said, try it. So I took the spinach, I bought it, put it in, and I said, Lord, please don't let it be green. I can't drink it if it's green. It's just a mental block. I can't drink green drinks. So just, Lord, don't let it be green. Sure enough, it was purple because of the blueberries. I was so excited. So I tasted it, and I was like, I didn't taste the spinach. Oh my gosh. So I go and I pour some for my husband. I go into his office. I'm like, hey, babe, taste this. It has spinach in it. And so he drinks it. He was like, oh, you can't even he doesn't care. He likes all vegetables. Did not know that because I didn't cook them. So you ate what I cooked. So when I get this list of all the veggies, he's like, oh, yeah, I eat that. I eat that. I just don't eat this. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So we
That's so
drink the
funny.
spinach. So now I'm doing the spinach at least sometimes 4 times, at least 3 days a week. I'm doing the spinach smoothie,
Mhm.
and so it has been very eye opening just to just try different stuff. And that's the piece I think people just have to be open. Like you have to say, like I don't say, oh, I don't like that, which I normally would have said, oh, I don't like that. Now I say, so I'm not sure. I haven't tried it yet. So I may like it. I may not like it, but I just don't know yet. So yet has been like a new word in my vocabulary that
I
was never
like it.
before.
Yet. I don't know if I like it yet. And that's a great way to approach life, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I will like that. I just don't know yet.
Yeah. You don't know. You never
Fabulous.
know until you try it. So honestly, that has been a true model for me of once a week, something new. And sometimes more than one thing happens in my week that I'm not aware of. It just so happens I'm somewhere and I'm like, oh, I'll try that too. Well, why don't I try this too? And so, and even just with nuts, like all I ate my whole life was like sunflower seeds, almonds, and pistachio nuts. Like maybe cashews every once in a while. So now I'm trying new nuts, which I never had before. And I
Hmm.
never ate beans. Like that was not even on the list. Green beans were the only bean I ever ate. And so now, like cooking lentils, I made lentils for the first time, working that out. Still, I got to get the seasoning right for that. But I didn't cross them off the list. And my mom loves lentils, so that's not an issue. So she'll eat any ones that I don't want. They always eat everything. They're like, "Oh, that was good." I'm like, "I don't like that." Just like, introducing different beans,
Yet.
like black beans, and I've been doing the cannellini. Cannellini is how you say it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Chickpeas apparently is a staple of a vegan diet, so I had to introduce myself to chickpea.
You have to try some roasted chickpeas.
I did. That was the first thing I
Oh,
made.
there you go.
I had everybody trying it because that was like the first thing I cooked. It was the girl. What is her blog? It doesn't taste like chicken.
I
Is that what
don't
it's
I
called?
don't know. You probably know more blogs than I do at
Yeah,
this
it
point.
was. That's how I found it. I think it was called "It Doesn't Taste Like Chicken," and it was so funny. She's hilarious, and her dog is named Chickpea, so it's hilarious.
Okay, that's
And so
funny.
she made the roasted chickpeas, and so I said, "Oh, I'm going to try it." So I had my dad was eating, so my husband was eating. So my dad's like, "These taste like beer nuts at the bar," and I'm like, "Really?" I don't know what those. I've never had that before, but they were good. They were tasty, and so just I am a person who's used to eating things over time. So what I know now is I have to eat things quicker. Like because the
Mm.
stuff that I make, you can't hold it for a week. You got to eat it in 2 days or 3 days. So really,
Mhm.
just the first time I started, it was okay. I can make it. I would cook on Sundays and then I would cook again on Wednesdays. And so now
Mm.
I've gotten it to where I cook and freeze and then just pull out. And so like you
Nice.
just have to and I actually was trying to figure out how I was going to balance this because I wasn't working full time before. So now I'm
Mm.
working full time and I don't get off until 4. And so really trying to balance. And then some days I go straight to Apple afterwards. And so then I don't get off till 9. So then I have to pack
Mm.
a double lunch because I don't want to not have the food when I get somewhere. And it's like,
Right.
I don't have any food. And so just so now I have lovely little packets that are frozen at the bottom, and I have one for the daytime and one for the night with my 2 different meals in it. And it really is about prep for me. And I mean, I'll tell anybody like you can't just it can't be haphazard. It has to be very thoughtful, and it has to be you put the thought into it in advance and do the prep work because if you don't, you open your refrigerator and there's nothing in there.
Hmm. Even though there's stuff in there, but it's not what you're wanting because you didn't really
Because you didn't
almost.
cook it. Because who wants to just look at a head of cauliflower and like, yeah, what am I gonna do with that? I can't take that anywhere.
Although I did tell you about that, the healthyblenderrecipes.com website. You guys got to check this out. There's this cauliflower leek. Have you had leeks yet?
I have not had leeks yet.
Oh, you gotta
On
do
my
this.
list.
This is soup. It's like a 10-minute soup recipe, and now with your fancy Vitamix,
I was gonna say it'll be less than that.
it's gonna be less than that. It took me like that long because I have apparently the old school. My husband's be like, "Why did you buy another Vitamix?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"Well, because she told me I had to."
Yeah, I'm just saying it was a good purchase. It can make dry and it makes ice cream. It makes
That's
soups.
incredible.
Makes hot soups. It can do that. So I can have that
Nice.
cauliflower leek soup in no time.
Nice. You're gonna be amazing. So before we end here, tell me one bit of advice you would give to someone who's starting this journey.
Mm. One piece of advice. Let's see. I would tell you to just do it.
Just do
Don't
it.
think about it. Don't analyze it. Just make one small step, even if it's just not eating meat or dairy one time a day. Like just cut it out one time a day. And then as you progress, try 2 times a day. And don't add it to, if you can't go cold tofu or cold turkey,
Tofurkey.
tofurkey. If you can't go cold turkey, try to just start with just one meal a day and then go from there and try to just adjust your palate and just, I mean, honestly, it really is a palate adjustment. My mom sent me some research over the weekend, and she was like, there's an article about how you can train your palate and why your palate is how it is. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because of all the things that you've eaten. You think you have to have salt and you think you have to have sugar. So just try one thing. Like just try one thing, try to stop doing that, and don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can, because that was the biggest thing for me. I can't have pancakes, I can't have butter, I can't have this. And then one day I was like, I can't think about what I can't have. I need to start focusing on what I can have. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. You've got it all wrapped up, and now you're drug free and skinny.
I wasn't even trying to be skinny.
That's the best.
Yeah, skinny's good. I'm happy. Yeah. The girl told me yesterday at church, she was like, you look like you just vanishing and you like you're 25. I said, I'm 47 and a half. Thank you very much. Make it happen.
I wish people, okay, those who are listening, she's doing her dance and her posing. Oh my God, it's so funny. I love it. You are a rock star, and thank you so much for agreeing to be on my show.
Thank
You
you so
are,
much for your help in this journey, because if you had not been placed in my life right now, I would still be eating things that were not healthy for me and that are not going to make me healthy.
well, you and I both agree as people of faith that how that happened. So I am just the messenger, and I'm just happy to be a part of the journey. So it has really nothing to do with me, but
Thank you.
you rock. And thank you everyone for listening. And thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.